other farm products are going to be purchased immediately, starting immediately.
Large amounts of soybeans and other farm products, says President Trump on his way back from a historic Asian trip. We'll be trying to unpack what was said and figure out what might actually be done here on Wake Up Missouri, as he and Xi were getting along well and trying to rekindle a great relationship. That's what he says. So big news out of China as he's on his way back and holding a gaggle there, not sleeping. I don't know when the guy sleeps. I think he just has endless energy. Even the reporters can't figure it out. I don't know what several ever-ready Energizer batteries, probably. John Marsh, Stephanie Bell, Drake Whitman. I'm Randy Tobler. Thanks for being in with us. A big day over there. And again, a lot of promises made. Rare earth minerals apparently will start flowing back. Chips, I think, as well. A lot of chip talk. We'll have to see where it all goes. But several big takeaways from the meeting. Rolling back tariffs from 20% to 10% over China's role in that.
And he says the U.S. military is going to go back to testing our nukes and delivery systems.
He said that right ahead of that meeting, I think, as a little saber rattling.
Just a coincidence, Randy.
Just a coincidence. Yeah.
Came up.
Smart move, art of the deal. But, China wanted to get along with and told Obama and then told Trump one and then told Biden and now has told Trump two what they're going to do. And Trump always likes to say he gets along with everyone. We have a great relationship. I've come to dismiss that. I'll wait and see what happens. That's my stance on this the whole trip. I think there's more likelihood that agreements made with Malaysia, Cambodia, Vietnam, and South Korea and Japan certainly are more likely to come to fruition than anything that China says. I have very little faith that China will deliver on any long-term serious basis, but we'll see. I hope for the farmers that some of the markets do grow. Stephanie, I haven't seen the magnitude of how many beans they're going to buy. I don't know if it's 2 tons of beans, 2 megatons of beans. No one knows.
And yeah, I guess what was the date where it was like April 1 that they haven't bought a single bean?
Yeah.
Right? So any amount would be better, I think. Certainly, if you missed the interview with Casey Wasser of Missouri Soybeans, it was really informative about the impact this is having on Missouri farmers. And I know there's been a lot of pressure to do something different.
He said farmers should... President Trump posted on Truth Social, farmers should immediately go out and buy more land and larger tractors. I would like to thank President Xi for this. Thank you for attention to this matter.
And all of the farmers are like looking at Trump like, you haven't farmed a day in your life. You have no idea what this is all about. And they're like, the thing was we did have land. We are producing things and you're messing it up. So just leave us alone.
No TikTok deal yet. China will work with the U.S. to properly resolve issues related to TikTok. That's what China's Commerce Ministry said. No details on any progress. Now, when it comes to rare earths, China basically agreed to just back down on their export controls and the other bottleneck that they created, a couple of weeks ago when Trump earlier had announced or threatened a 100% import tax. It was supposed to go into play on Saturday, I believe, November 1. So, but for a year, they're not going to implement for a year their recently announced controls. So all of this is maybe a little bit of kicking I think, not maybe, it is kicking the can down the road. They've agreed to begin purchasing oil and gas from Alaska. Adding that officials will be meeting to see if such an energy deal can be worked out. So one after another, China has suggested to their domestic consumption that no deal is done. They're working on it and they're negotiating terms. So again, I think this is a lot of fanfare. This is a lot of bluster. Allows the respective leaders to say that they won, that they were America first, China first, and nothing really changes. Nothing substantive really changes. Maybe a little bit of some rare earth, opportunities there. So that's, whatever. We'll take what we can get. But they're still the evil enemy, the evil empire. They will dominate the world if we let them. And anyone, Trump or anyone else that thinks that anything that President Xi says holds anything but just an empty promise, I think is terribly deluded.
They bought 180,000 metric tons of beans.
Randy Tobler, the eternal optimist.
Well, you want some receipts on that?
There you go.
Trump 45, according to reliable sources, only 50%. No, I'll take it. It's good, but only 50% or a little less than 50% is in play from what was promised during all of those magnanimous, we're bringing, semiconductors to Texas, we're bringing battery plants to Wisconsin. So you have to calibrate. You have to just turn the volume down on the reality of what anything Donald Trump says, for the most part, especially with foreign enemies. China is the enemy. There's no doubt about it. And until Xi is gone and someone more reasonable who actually behaves in a reasonable world-respecting manner is in play, I don't know if that's possible, we have to consider them the enemy. They're gaining the upper hand on technology, especially war-fighting technology.
Energy.
And energy, yeah. Electric cars. Apparently their electric cars are pretty good.
I don't care about electric cars.
That's what I heard.
Do you think you'll drive an electric car in your lifetime?
I drive a hybrid. Well, I don't. Helene does.
Okay,
I like it.
Lefty.
I love it when you can see on the little monitor, you can see when it's in hybrid mode, when it's in electric mode. It's the first automobile I've ever had where you get better mileage in town than on the road.
Coming from the guy who brags about his diesel big
the big A truck. But
he's offsetting the hybrid car with the big truck.
That's strictly a matter of just I don't trust that fuel prices are going to do anything but go up.
So that would kind of make Randy carbon credit neutral.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I just like that. I just think it's a technology. I love the technology of it, the wonder of that technology. Actually, my brothers.
Plug-in hybrids are the ones that are about as popular as any of them that are they're still selling at a decent level as compared to the straight electric cars, Jen's Tesla not.
Yeah, so there's plug-in hybrids. My daughter has a Chrysler. Actually, they make the only minivan they make is a plug-in hybrid. She does great with that. This is a non-plug-in hybrid that we have, and it works really well. I like it. I mean, for the most part, when you're cruising along, going downhill, you're charging the battery, then the engine starts up, and I like it. It's good. I don't know. Anyway, so I just don't trust. I don't trust Xi. You trust Xi, Stephanie?
No,
oh, come
I
on.
don't.
I think you secretly agree with me, just liking to poke the bear here. That's what's going on.
I mean, I am a lawyer.
Yeah,
I like a little bit of controversy.
I know.
I am really excited because I didn't realize that I'm going to be dropping into D.C. on a holiday because I'm expected to arrive in D.C. next week on Wednesday, which will, if the government shutdown is still happening, officially be the longest shutdown ever.
Oh, so would be,
yeah.
That would be the holiday. That would be the first day of the new record.
Kind of every day is a holiday.
And the record
in
grows
DC,
after
right?
that. Yeah.
Right.
So, but I heard there's been now thousands of delays, right? I mean, delays in air transport are really becoming a big deal. More and more air traffic controllers are not showing up. I understand they're handing out flyers, and as people come into the terminal. I don't know if they're doing that here.
They're just handing out the orange. What are those called?
Oh, the flags that they use to direct the.
And they're like, "Hey, you throw this vest on, go out there, wave your flag, you got it."
Yeah. So I think that may be ultimately what really forces people to the table. We'll have to see. Well, in other news, J.D. Vance and Erica Kirk held forth at Ole Miss. 10,000 people in attendance there. Apparently, they stood out in the rain, waiting in line for a long time to get into the venue. We've got a lot of sound on that. We'll be covering that in depth with what J.D. Vance said, especially. I mean, it was really amazing stuff there. So, a little bit of Erica here.
We will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. We will not back down when the world tells us to kneel, because we bow only to the King of Kings.
And the crowd went wild. She has an interesting speaking style. She speaks in a very measured pace, but every word is really very high impact. And she told a story how there's a Bible verse on their bedroom wall, and she hadn't slept in their bedroom since just recently, a couple days ago, couldn't really go in, and that he always faced that wall, and then he had a series of Bible verses on his on the desk, or I guess on the wall that his desk faced, that complemented that. And can you imagine how difficult that must be if your spouse is dead, especially if they've been shot in a violent way? I mean, can you imagine how hard it is to go back to that room? She said she used to just run by it,
It's
go in and
awful.
take the shower and get the heck out of there, and I don't know.
And then to stand
Yes.
in front of 10,000 people last night.
So much courage.
Yeah.
This woman has got amazing, amazing grit. And I think that's a testimony to her faith in
Right
God.
now, for me, is a spiritual reclaiming of territory. And let me explain that, because there is a lot of symbolism in today. It's Wednesday, 7 weeks. And the more that I am coming to grips with the permanency of this nightmare, the more that I'm starting to realize and witness that the enemy, he doesn't want you. He wants your territory. He wants your influence. And when our team asked my dear friend, Vice President J.D. Vance, to speak today, I really prayed on it, because obviously it's a very emotional day. But I could just hear Charlie in my heart. I could just hear him say, go reclaim that territory, babe.
Go retain my territory. Strong words from Erica Kirk. We'll talk more about that gathering at a TPUSA rally in Old Miss. And later on, we talk with Ryan Schmelz from Fox News about the congressional reaction to the military strikes and narcotics boats, another 14th one. And Carrie Sheffield from Independent Women's Forum on the impact of this shutdown on working women, their families, our economy. All that coming up on Wake Up Missouri. Glad you're with us.
It's Wake Up Missouri. pleading with my Democrat colleagues all week long. Do not allow 42 million people, needy people in this country, to go without food. And yet they seem prepared to do just that.
There's Josh. Here's Stephanie with the Daily DC Rundown.
Of course, Senator Hawley talking shutdown there, which will be, as of next Wednesday, if it continues, the longest government shutdown in history. We are on day 29 today. We are starting to get a little bit of talks of movement. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he is going to talk with Democrats pretty soon. They haven't really been talking a whole lot up to now. But this SNAP, Randy, you mentioned, we've had some airline delays and cancellations, and you think that is putting pressure on folks. We also have this SNAP emergency. Josh Hawley has introduced a bill to try to continue the SNAP funding. It has bipartisan support. 40 million Americans receive these benefits, and they're due Saturday, but there hasn't been any funding so far. We got and apparently in the back rooms, it's being said that both parties are looking for an off-ramp. Some updates for SNAP beneficiaries here. We got an update from the Kehoe administration yesterday that they are looking for some safety net funding for these SNAP benefits. There's some money, I guess, some temporary assistance for needy families or TANF funding. And there's also, I believe, some money that they can transfer from a different a different area that they're trying to help out. And then I saw this, and I sent it to you yesterday. Local organizations are doing what they can. I know Meals on Wheels Columbia yesterday issued a press release saying that they'll be providing up to 5,000 free meals to SNAP recipients during the suspension of benefits. If you need, they've got this on their website and on their Facebook. If you know of someone who needs those benefits and is facing losing those benefits. And of course, they note that they are also taking private donations. And so I think we're coming to a head, Randy, where it's going to start affecting people, whether we're talking military pay, travel, SNAP benefits. And of course, we've got elections on Tuesday, some big elections. So you have any predictions if you were a betting person?
I'm not a betting person. I have no predictions. I don't believe the polls. That's one thing I can say. Now, Governor Kehoe has announced that, there's some emergency funds that he's going to use to help, seniors, I think, and some other groups.
Seniors and food banks, about $15 million.
Yeah, so not like direct SNAP benefits, but, indirectly through the food banks. The food banks are going to probably run dry at some point, too, right? I mean, at some point, there's not unlimited supply.
There's not. So
they're very concerned.
They are. And so we'll see if they can, if the conversations have started back up is what we're hearing, or conversations are in the works between the two parties. So I think I think there's a chance that by the time I get to D.C. on Wednesday, it's over.
Think it might be all humming again. Oh,
perhaps.
Okay.
We are also
I think she's got some inside information.
I do not.
Too.
I definitely don't. But we are also hearing about the devastation from Hurricane Melissa. We're hearing at least 25 people are dead, 18 missing. As for Jamaica, 75% of the island is without electricity. The storm moved through Cuba and the Bahamas, is tracking toward Bermuda. In Missouri news, I know we've previously spoken with the folks down near Springfield at Convoy of Hope. And I think they are already involved in the efforts to get supplies and what's needed to the victims there. So Missourians helping.
I was thinking about the hurricane deal. It's been a relatively quiet hurricane season in America. Last year was not a big hurricane season. I haven't heard all the liberals who think that the world is apocalyptically ending because of global, climate change and violent weather. I haven't heard them come out and say, well, I'm sorry. Well, maybe I got it wrong. Have you?
They're busy being mad about the ballroom.
I
think.
They have to be mad about something, don't they? Yes.
And it's not at the top of their list right now. Also, we are, we were talking about the shutdown, and there is some pressure also coming from internal. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of your favorites, Randy, I'm sure, has been attacking Speaker Johnson, saying, hey, we've got to have a detailed plan about this healthcare stuff. Why am I not seeing it? Why is it not being shared with me? And Ted Cruz is at the same time saying people shouldn't listen to her, that she's shifted leftward. Has she ever been accused of being?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know. Jack Smith is Joe Biden's.
Been fair to Donald Trump. People always know what's going on. I don't think the president knows how everybody is living right now. So I think
As Arctic frost advanced, 92 Republican organizations or individuals were targeted, not just Trump.
Well, that was Senator Chuck Grassley, who released subpoenas that had been held in embargo for a year under the order of this Judge Boasberg. This guy is a menace to society. I mean, he really is, I think, Stephanie Bell, a menace to society, this Judge Boasberg. Those on the Republican side of the aisle are calling for his impeachment. And according to these new FBI files, I think you could make a strong argument that on the basis of 197 subpoenas issued by Smith, approved by Boasberg, this was nothing but basically a fire a bunch of shotgun shells into a pool of koi and hoping you can kill a few of them. I mean, this was basically a fishing expedition with a wide and very powerful net. Chuck Grassley said, I've obtained through legally protected whistleblower disclosures, 197 subpoenas were issued by Jack Smith. They were issued to 34 individuals and 163 businesses. They requested records and communications related to over 430 individuals and organizations. All of them appear to be aimed at Republicans, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point and Republican Attorneys General Association. And I wonder, was Eric Schmidt involved in this? Or, he was, I think, Attorney General during that, was he? Or was it Andrew Bailey? I don't know. But at any rate, I mean, they were prominent. Our attorneys general were prominent in this attorneys general sort of coalition that would fire off various lawsuits and stuff,
We were leading the way a lot of times.
Right. I mean, they were always there on the signatory list of those when you saw the signers of those various petitions. This is just very frightening to me. I don't know. What do you make of this? I mean, is this just a bunch of politicking on the part of Chuck Grassley? Or is this truly, I mean, some people, Ted Cruz called this Operation Arctic Frost Joe Biden's Watergate. I mean, this is really using the government and the DOJ under an administration to just go after your political enemies.
Yeah, I guess, I'm not surprised. All of these like breaking revelations about Joe Biden, whether we're talking the auto pin stuff from earlier this week. I mean, we knew this was going on in the background. We're just finding more out about it now.
Cruz was pretty scathing in his attacks on Jack Smith, but I don't. This kind of stuff gives me creepy vibes about what the government is capable of. And by the way, I think that anyone in any position of power at the federal government is capable of this, and that's why a strong, robust, equipped, capable, and hopefully non-biased media is so critically essential to this country, and why that part of the First Amendment just has to be held as a sacred, icon of Americanism. Just troubling, my God. So I don't know where it's all going to go, but I'm going to play a little bit of the Ted Cruz thing because he got out there and really, really was after it. Here's Ted Cruz on this whole Arctic frost investigation and exposure.
Watergate. Merrick Garland was a fundamentally corrupt attorney general. Jack Smith was a fundamentally corrupt prosecutor. This was a political enemies list from the beginning. 197 subpoenas for 430 Republican entities and individuals. That is an absolute and egregious abuse of power.
Remember when Barack Obama's IRS and other agencies would storm into nonprofits who were teaching about American history? Remember that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the subpoenas went to businesses, including financial institutions. Yeah. And, Republicans have been crying foul for some time about being debanked. And sometimes, when it comes to some of these recent prosecutions or charges by the Trump administration, it's really like it doesn't even matter that, they finally get adjudicated. Just getting charged is kind of the penalty. And here, just sending the subpoena to your bank could cause your bank to be nervous enough to be like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I just got a subpoena from the FBI or from the DOJ. Like, I don't want to be associated with you. So, I mean, you might think like, well, all these subpoenas went out. They really didn't find anything. We don't know exactly yet. I don't think, and maybe the folks in the government do, what the effect of all of these people receiving the subpoenas did, because it certainly had to spook a lot of folks. And then you talk about like, I mean, from a First Amendment perspective, from being able to associate with who you want or being able to talk about what you want, you know, I think it probably chilled some activity that otherwise that's probably legal, right? And so you just think, you know, so many subpoenas to so many different entities. Do those entities, you know, did they change their internal policies about who then they might allow to bank, right? Like,
yes.
I mean, it has
who are they going to loan to?
Far-reaching consequences, and so I think, I mean, I do. It's horrific, but I think it's not surprising knowing what we know about the Biden administration.
You're right, and I mean, you're right. It puts a real chilling atmosphere on your business operations, right?
I mean, imagine the local bankers you know around Missouri, right?
Yeah.
They receive a bunch of subpoenas about certain individuals. And yeah, I think at that point, as a business owner who, you know, has lots of people outside the political realm, I think there were probably choices made on the basis of receiving those subpoenas internally for those entities that got it.
Well, it's certainly something. And look, our own Eric Schmidt was, I mean, he was part of that, you know, Republican Attorney General, or what was it called? The Republican Attorneys General Association.
RAGA.
Yeah, that one. RAGA, not MAGA. And here's what he said about the whole deal, because, you know, he was at this press conference.
Right.
Judge Boasberg gave a speech about how he was going to thwart the Trump agenda before he got those cases. He was not the assignment judge. The D.C. courts have a daily assignment judge. He wasn't the assignment judge. He's on vacation. Somehow gets these cases at 1 a.m. Was he tipped off? Did somebody tell him these cases against President Trump and his agenda now were coming? I don't know. We should find that out. But Judge Boasberg, what he did to Senator Cruz and maybe other senators, absolutely, and I don't say this lightly, absolutely is worthy of impeachment proceedings. There has to be accountability. The American people have heard a lot about this, and you're going to hear more. We should have Watergate-style hearings on this for months. If we're ever going to root this out, we have to be serious about it, and consequences have to follow. Resignations, firings, criminal prosecutions. You simply can't, in this country, use the justice system to throw people in jail because they have a red jersey on or a blue jersey on.
Powerful words from Eric Schmidt. His imposing just physical presence and the force with which he speaks truth. I mean, this is truth. Look, I'm fine with it. If you want to make an investigation based on some facts that seem to, you know, support some kind of a potential criminal action. But if what Chuck Grassley said is true, if every one of the targets of these seem to be a conservative, a Republican, you know, we know it's in that basket. How else can you paint this?
And it's right in line with what Trump said he was going to do, and that's hold people accountable. And I think I think there's been some pushback from the left of like, you know, should we keep upping the ante and fighting, you know, these folks in the way that they fought us? You know, at some point, shouldn't somebody have to stand down? And I think Eric Schmidt has the right position, and a lot of conservatives do, in that if these people aren't ever held accountable, and if you don't fight fire with fire, it's never going to stop.
That's what the president said from the get-go. He said, when I get reelected, these people who came after me unfairly, they're in my gun sights. He made no bones about that all through the campaign.
And I think the difference here is Trump's not handing a list of people, like Schmidt said, with blue jerseys to the DOJ saying, go look at these people. They're saying, let's look internally at what happened during the Biden administration and let's hold people accountable. And I think those are two fundamentally different things.
Yeah, accountability for actions in the past is one thing. I mean, that's a different thing than new targets, right? I mean, it's yes, it's a target, but only because a target is something you aim at, but you're aiming at it for an entirely different reason. You're aiming at it because of, like, you started this.
Now,
I'm finishing the fight.
And now I can see, and I don't know if he's texted yet. I can see Alan texting us. I'm checking now if he's done it yet. But what about, Trump saying, you got to go after Comey and you got to go after Letitia James? And is that not a target list?
Well, but that's because they started it in an irresponsible and many would say unethical at a minimum and probably illegal way.
Yeah, and I think it's not just a fishing. I mean, this was described as a fishing expedition that you got on the list simply because you were conservative. Comey and Letitia James were on the, quote, list from Trump, if you want to call it that, because of known indiscretions, known things that they did that is unlawful, right? And it sounds like here, all of these subpoenas were just, the only reason you got on the list was because you were right-leaning.
Yeah, right. And again, he has to watch it. He's got to make sure that targets that he goes after accountability are truly, legitimate, valid targets to go after, right? You don't want to go after, Kamala Harris because she endorsed, Black Lives Matter, bailout fund. I mean, I don't think that would be a legitimate target, right?
Right.
But it's just something that had done something terribly egregious, or in the instance of Letitia James, I mean, unprecedented use of a statute and really twisting it in all kinds of Gumby-like ways to make it apply. Because what's the famous term? If you want to go after someone, I'll find a crime to make it work. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's have you seen the book before? It's,
No.
I think it's 3 felonies a day.
Yeah.
And there's a Twitter account. Yeah, it's 3 felonies a day. And there's a Twitter account that tweets all of the crazy federal crimes in the code and how, and the premise of the book is that we all, how the feds target the innocent, and how if we all examine our everyday life, there's so many, silly crimes in the federal code that you probably on average commit 3 felonies a day that you didn't even know.
Oh no, I know Stossel's done that.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. How's your brain clock? Is it ahead of or behind your chronological clock? We'll talk about that and maybe how to slow that brain aging clock down a little bit when we come back on Make Missouri Healthy Again. Stay tuned.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
How creative are you? Take a look at the things you enjoy, maybe the things that are on your interest list, that bucket interest list, things you'd like to take up. Well, the more creative you are, the more likely you are to have a younger brain and to maintain brain plasticity. That is the ability to adapt and change. Researchers have developed a method to calculate whether someone's brain is aging faster or slower than, their chronological age. It's called a brain clock. It's sort of like a fitness tracker, estimates your cardiovascular age based on your heart rate and activity levels. But instead of measuring your steps and then translating that, with maybe your baseline heart rate or your variability in heart rate, it looked at various areas of the brain. And, the areas of the brain that are involved in like judgment and motor coordination, called the frontal and the parietal regions, tend to age a little bit faster. But in people that were experts in creative things, dancing, the arts, and yes, video games, experts, and especially the longer their expertise and their training and their experience with these creative ventures, where you have to do problem solving and quickly adapt and move, and the more likely they were to have a younger brain.
I think that makes sense. I mean, they always say, like, you should put your kids into music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true. I did music when I was little. I think it benefited me, and I tried to do it with my kids, although they haven't really stuck with it. But I think it, exercises a part of your brain that otherwise wouldn't be.
Now, a lot of the studies that we talk about when you show advantages or disadvantages to this or that behavior or habit or diet or whatever, another 4 months worth of a difference, or you'll live, 6 months longer or whatever. This is like about 4 to 7 years younger on the experts' brains compared to matched non-experts. But there's hope. If you're not an expert, if you're not a dancer, if you're not a performer, if you're not an artist, if you're not a video gamer, they actually did this then. They had non-experts, for instance, in one study, do 3 to 4 weeks of training in video games. So it's like, if this be like me going in and learning, what was the name of the video game? You'll know this.
Mario Kart.
No. StarCraft 2. Is that a popular video game? I don't know. A strategy game that requires rapid decision-making and coordination. And it turns out that across the measures, a clear pattern emerged. The more skilled someone was in their creative domain, the younger their brain occurred. But short-term learning, for instance, someone who then had 30 hours of StarCraft training over 3 to 4 weeks, their brain age gaps, that is the gap between the brain age that was observed with AI-assisted brain imaging, like MRI and some functional imaging, it decreased compared to their pre-training measurements. So even short-term learning can have an impact. So I think what I take home from this is, I know a lot of people in my life that I think have the strongest, most nimble, and like 20-year-old minds that you might imagine, and those are the people that are always, they're always venturing into something new. They're exploring this. They might not be experts, but, at age 50, they take up dancing, and they've never stepped foot on a dance floor in their life. Or maybe they take up an instrument or a foreign language, which is in a way
George
creative.
Bush, how he took up painting?
Yeah.
And
That's
he's like
right.
a really talented painter now.
Tony Bennett, great singer. Now, he was a singer in his own right, but he took up painting.
How about older folks who get really into video gaming?
Yeah, that's right. But this is like, if you're 40, 50, and you just are seeing your parents aging and slipping a little bit, and maybe this is the time to identify a creative pursuit and start developing it, because the data appears to be pretty clear that the more of an expert you are, the longer that you engage in intense activity around this creative pursuit, the younger the slower your brain will age. And it happens to affect the brain parts that age the quickest naturally. So it's really very, very, very compelling stuff. So we'll all start dancing during the breaks here so we can keep our brains
We're turning the
plastic and
cameras
young.
off, right?
That's Make Missouri Healthy again for today. Coming up, Ryan Schmeltz from Fox News on these strikes on the Venezuelan boats. You won't want to miss that. A 14th one occurred, I think, yesterday. So we'll talk with Ryan about that. Stay tuned.
of folks, and we don't know who they are and where they're coming from, crossing our borders, poisoning our communities with drugs. I would not want to be in a drug boat in the Caribbean right now.
All right. Well, that's Secretary of War. I have to get that right. Not Secretary of Defense. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, on the Venezuelan boat cartel bombings. Have you had another one? 14th one, I think. Joining us now, Ryan Schmelz. He's the Capitol Hill and White House correspondent with Fox News Radio. How you doing, Ryan? Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, of course. Great to be with you.
So this is an interesting phenomenon. I guess the number one question, because it's something that, you see these boats just being absolutely turned into an oil slick in the middle of the ocean. And there's so many questions about, is this an unprecedented way of dealing with, narc and maybe human traffickers or whatever kind of traffickers in the past that were damaging America? Have other presidents done this?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, if you go back to Thomas Jefferson, I mean, he dealt with pirates in the Caribbean, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So there's been issues like that where the military has gotten involved in some type of naval, conflict with a group that could be designated as terrorists. But in recent memory, the actual act of targeting what you believe is an alleged cartel boat and then blowing it up, lethal force. I mean, this seems like a fairly new concept. And keep in mind, before the second Trump administration took over, we didn't have narco terror groups or narco drug groups labeled as designated terror organizations. The Trump administration has gone ahead and done that in the second administration, and that has given, in many ways, them more legal authority to carry this out.
Ryan, you ever see the Tom Clancy movie Clear and Present Danger, where they use the airplane to come in and drop a bomb from altitude on the Colombian drug lords? You wonder about.
No, that's interesting. Yeah.
You wonder about the pushback down the road, because that movie kind of played out where the powers that be got involved and all that. Well, do you think there'd be any pushback from the legal side of things on this?
Well, I think there could, from what we understand, and you hear this from, members of Congress, and Rand Paul has probably been one of the few Republicans who's been very outright and aggressive about this, and saying that, well, if there are people who are innocent involved in this, that's going to be a huge problem because, there's going to be questions of due process. Now, we should note that Secretary Rubio, according to Senate Republicans, came to their lunch not too long ago and laid out kind of some of the justification for why they're doing this and some of the intel that they have and how they're going about targeting these groups. And Senate Republicans seem pretty confident and pretty reassured by what's happening there. And then a lot of them are very much in support of this. But you're hearing from Democrats who say that they're not being read in nearly enough as they should be.
We're talking with Ryan Schmelz. He's the Fox News Radio Capitol Hill and White House correspondent. Now, Ryan, what was it, about 3 weeks ago when reporters, including Fox and Newsmax and, a lot of the conservative reporting groups, everyone, as far as I know, basically told the Secretary of Defense and the Department of War, Secretary of War and Department of War, if you're not going to let us have the same kind of access we had in the Pentagon, we're out of here. And I don't know if you were part of that group or not, but are you worried that maybe some of the intel receipts, some of the, investigative reporting and some of that very deep reporting that I know as you as journalists would like to do, to find out about how accurate is this intel? How robust is it? How much are you worried that maybe those kind of investigative lines have been cut short, or do you have your ways? You just can't tell us because you'd have to hurt us if you did.
Well, certain press access has become a huge issue at the Pentagon. A lot of the different groups that represent journalists, including the one I'm on here on Capitol Hill, have signed on to letters expressing our concern with that. Brett Baer has spoken out about it, on his show. So, that stuff definitely gets raised. But, of course, there's still Congress, and Congress does get read in on a lot of this intel sometimes. And, you have Democrats at least saying that they're not being read in on nearly enough. So, I think there's still ways to cover the Pentagon, even if you're not there. But all that stuff is certainly a question that's being asked for sure. And I think, with this one, too, The Department of Homeland Security, I believe, is also kind of involved with this as well because, when it comes to drug trafficking and combating that, and especially with the cartels, usually that falls under DHS's jurisdiction and not as much with the Department of War. But it seems like they're using Department of War resources to go after these groups, too.
Talk to us a little bit. You're so close to the action about the shutdown. We're hearing rumors that folks are ready to come to the table, that they're looking for an off-ramp. Is that true, or do you think we're headed toward the end of the shutdown? And what is it that's putting the pressure on? Is it TSA? Is it SNAP benefits? Is it military pay?
There's a couple things. So, yes, the deadlines are here. And that's when he gets to be crunch time and kind of a breaking point. You have SNAP benefits running out at the end of the week. That's created a huge concern across the country. You've got the ground stops from TSA and the fact that, air traffic controllers and TSA agents aren't getting paid anymore. The money's run out for that. And, obviously troop pay is a concern, too, though it appears the administration is going to be able to pay troops for one more pay period. I think also, earlier this week, you had the Alliance for pretty much the biggest union representing federal workers come out and say that they want to pass the clean resolution that's on the table to reopen the government. And, I mean, that's one of the Democrats' biggest bases. So there was a huge – with them calling on that's kind of put the pressure on Democrats a little bit more. You saw one Democrat yesterday say that he felt the offer Leader Thune has made to Democrats to allow them a vote on the Affordable Care Act tax credits and in exchange for reopening the government was a fair deal. So I'd say you're starting to see some cracks here, but maybe not enough just yet to say, oh, yeah, we see the end on the horizon. It seems like it's still a little far away.
Ryan, on another, I think, spoke from this hub of this shutdown and the conversations that it's generated. I have a particular interest in healthcare, having been a doc for over 30 years and now doing a disruptive type of thing with direct primary care. And there's a lot of these movements that I think we saw the president announce, hey, we're going to start enabling Americans to buy their drugs from, the pharmaceuticals directly. And I think that's going to expand. And we keep hearing the drumbeat from the Democrats. The Republicans don't have a plan. They don't have a plan to reform healthcare. They don't have a plan. They're just shooting arrows at Obamacare. I don't believe that's true. What does your reporting tell you? Because I think they do have a plan. They just don't have a chance to talk about it because the government, this shutdown thing.
Yeah. Well, and you saw Speaker Johnson pull out a giant book, and he was very excited to use this prop earlier this week, which was, I guess, the RSC, when he was RSC chairman, it was their plan to reform healthcare in the U.S. So, the Republicans will push back and say that, no, we do have a plan, and we've got, solutions. But, there's been a little bit of infighting within the party about what that plan is and if they're clear enough about it. But when it comes to the Affordable Care Act tax credits, I mean, look, Republicans have made it very clear that they think this program needs to be reformed and that just a blanket extension is just not going to fly with them. There was a situation where I believe it was Amy Klobuchar, the senator Democrat from Minnesota, shared a article about a couple that receives the tax credits. Well, they were early retirees in their 50s living off of $136,000 in pensions a year. And Republicans seized on that and said, are you serious? Like, this is who we're subsidizing? So, there are serious questions about the tax credits Republicans are raising. And a lot of them will say, well, a good portion of them are on board with extending it to some extent, but the way that it is right now is not going to fly with them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we've all had. I had the experience recently where I had a car with 200,000 miles on it. It shot craps. It was going to cost $6,000 to fix it. And my wife and I looked at one another. We said, "No, this bird is dead. We got to buy a new one." And I think the Democrats themselves have said that healthcare is broken, but they've defined what that broken healthcare system is. There seems to be cognitive dissonance there. No.
Well, hey, look, there was a time when Leader Jeffries was asked by me, by another reporter, and then a week later by Chad Pergram, this question of, well, if you need these subsidies to make the Affordable Care Act affordable, what does that say about the Affordable Care Act? And he dodged it all three times.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, some Democrats who aren't as afraid of that question will probably say, hey, look, we've wanted to fix Obamacare for years, but Republicans are not working with us. The health care issue has been one that's been just back and forth nonstop for decades now, pretty much ever since Obamacare was passed into law. And I mean, both sides have very clear stances on this, and it hasn't really changed much.
Well, the conversation is coming to a real head because premiums are going to be going up 26%. Subsidies are not on average. And I'm glad you're highlighting that on your X feed at Ryan Schmelz Fox. And, of course, asking the tough questions of Sombrero Jeffries. Thanks, Ryan, for being with us. We really appreciate it. Look forward to the next conversation, my friend. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Great reporting by Ryan. He does a great job in Fox News Radio. I, for one, think that this conversation finally is going to get a fair hearing among the American public. The American public is realizing, we're hearing it in the office. People are asking me, I've got insurance, I don't have access, it's going to go up 30%. What the heck's going on? What's a better way? We have a better way. We talk about it a lot. But finally, Stephanie, I think people have had enough with this pipe dream of affordable care. People have, maybe if they're getting subsidized, but that's not everyone. What is that? 20 million people, I think, are on Obamacare plans, right?
Right.
Had a guy yesterday, he's a small businessman and, self-insured. Obamacare premiums going like doubling. That he got the notice. Don't blame the Republicans for that. That's not their plan. That's the Democrats' plan. I think this is a different discussion now.
You do?
No? Am I just being optimistic? Should I take off the rose-colored glasses? Yeah.
You are. I mean, that's unusual for you.
But it needs to happen.
I agree it needs to happen. I think what we heard from Ryan right there is that, we're having the same conversation we had when Obamacare was implemented, right? And both sides are kind of dug in and aren't willing to work together to find I think we need to harken back to your make Missouri healthy again and start looking at creative solutions.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone's doing that.
I have a T-shirt I'm going to wear on Saturday.
Oh.
You know what Saturday is? The first National Direct Primary Care Day. All of the people in this movement, which is a growing movement, which is where you pay your doctor like back in the 50s. You pay your doctor to be your doctor. You don't ask the insurance we don't answer to insurance. We don't answer to pharmacies. We answer to patients. First National DPC Day on Saturday. Talk about some creativity. Ha! There you go. All right. Okay, hey, that was fun with Ryan, and he's always a great time. Hey, when we come back, let's talk a little bit about Barack Obama saying the quiet part out loud. I'll explain.
It's Wake Up.
We're going to be talking with a gal who is a policy analyst. She's written a book. She's been pretty prominent across the airwaves over the years. Her name's Carrie Sheffield, and she's a senior policy analyst. We're going to talk to her about with Independent Women's Forum because, it's really impacting families and moms and that are especially like working moms, sometimes in the gig economy, trying to make ends meet. We're hearing about air traffic controllers being, going to food pantries and the essential workers who are making things continue to move along in the shutdown, having to go to food pantries. We hear about some of them taking second jobs to pay their bills, prioritizing which bill to pay, and they're doing their jobs. We really need to give a big shout out for the TSA folks and the air traffic controllers. I mean, it's stand-up work that they're doing. Not getting paid. I know that they will get eventually, but they have cash flow needs, right? I mean,
of course.
So now then, once in a while, I don't know, once in a while you're having a good day and, things are rolling along and, one of those days when connections are connecting and things are happening the way you'd hope they're happening as you start your day and as you go through it.
And then you stub your toe.
Then you run across Barack Hussein Obama.
Part of what we're going to have to do is to start experimenting with new forms of journalism and how do we use social media in ways that reaffirm facts, separate facts from opinion. We want diversity of opinion. We don't want diversity of facts. That, I think, is one of the big tasks of social media. By the way, it will require some government, I believe, some government regulatory constraints.
Wait a minute.
Yikes.
Wait a minute. Did Barack Obama just say that he or some erudite, highly educated, well-informed, and absolutely omniscient group of people or some person in the Department of Social Media Regulation, newly created under a future Democratic president, controlled by Barack and Michelle, as Biden probably was, will be able to say, this is fact, Stephanie, and this is opinion, and you better believe us.
They tried that, right? With that disinformation fact czar lady that lasted for like a month or more. People are not going to have that. And I think, the best thing is to kind of police ourselves, right? And I think Elon's been doing a really good job of that with the community notes on X, where if something comes out and it's factually incorrect and the community agrees, then it gets a little flag on there. The thing I saw today actually was they've arrested some people in this Louvre heist deal, I think, right?
Yeah, I think now they may have the linchpin, even though he wasn't on the ground there.
And I guess yesterday a photo went viral and people were saying this, and he's very beautiful and he's dressed. I'll have to pull it up here for you. They caught a picture and it was a guy walking in front of some of the police people, and they said, this is the detective. And he looks like a detective out of a movie.
Very dapper.
And stunning. And the community notes popped up and they're like, he is a French guy. This photo is real. It's not AI. But he's not the detective. He was just a passerby, a good-looking French guy. And so, that's the kind of, information, I think. And so I think we can do it ourselves. I think asking the government to do it is a bad idea.
You're going to like what J.D. Vance said at the Turning Point USA rally last night. That coming up at 7:35.
I think just
on these things, I think I lean libertarian, and I don't want the government telling me what to do. I don't want them telling me what the facts are. I don't want them telling me what religion I should be. I don't want them forcing me to do much of anything. So I think, as written, the founders struck a good balance. And I think Charlie's message and I didn't hear JD's comments yesterday, but I think his message was, yes, that's in there. But if you look at the fundamental, like how our nation was founded, it was founded as a Christian nation, and there's a lot in the basis of law and in that underlies that, and our core principles are Christian principles, and I think you can understand that and also understand that there's a need for separation.
Well, I tell you, attorneys are so good at dodging questions. You did a good job. No,
thanks.
I think, but you didn't answer my question, and I think I understand what you're saying. But at some point, if you're a libertarian, okay, let's take that as a premise. If you're a libertarian, at some point you have to say that at some level, a microscopic local level, maybe even a homeowners association, if you, through your elected representative, want to make a set of rules, doesn't that make sense? Because you could argue the other sense. If I'm a libertarian, I don't want you telling me how fast to drive, and by God, you're not going to tell me how fast to drive because I'm a libertarian. You see where I mean? You can't have it both ways. If you're going to recognize that there are a certain amount of rules, and if we are a small R constitutional republic, Republican values would say, yeah, if the Columbia Public Schools decide to pray, I can move to Moberly because the Moberly Public Schools, through my elected board, decide, if Columbia says no prayers, but I want to pray, then I'll go to Moberly or Fulton where they said prayer.
You go to Catholic school.
Do you remember the court case? And I think it was in Washington, like 2 or 3 years ago, where they brought up the Establishment Clause, and it was, I don't remember where in Washington State, but it was one of them that had a similar kind of thing like that. And the defense they brought up with, well, if we allow that, what about Sharia law coming into the school system? And everybody has to, toe the line for Muslim Sharia law was one of the arguments that was made with the Establishment Clause. And I think that was one of the more recent cases. And this stuff goes back to the civil rights era, a lot of it, too.
Well, the answer to that is just don't have public schools that are funded except at the state or local level. And if you're in Dearborn, Michigan, and you live on is it the eastern or western side of Dearborn? That's essentially 90% Muslim. Have at it, whatever.
And originally
don't make me for being forbidden in my public school on the other side of Dearborn from having a Christian school.
Well, you're ignoring the 14th Amendment.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
What 14th
So
Amendment?
Originally, those clauses only applied to the federal government, and then the 14th Amendment extended them to all levels of government. And that's why you can't get your local government to establish a religion.
Oh, now, counselor, wait a minute. Then we need to go right down to the dispensary and lock them up and put them in jail.
Well,
because marijuana is federally illegal.
Well, that's
so
14th Amendment.
No, I don't want to hear 14th Amendment talk now. Come on, let's
not blow this out of proportion, Randy.
Whoa, wait a minute. Come on now. Come on. If we're gonna be consistent here, we're gonna be principled because we are principled truth tellers on Wake Up Missouri.
And that 14th Amendment revision that Steph talked about was the reason so many places had to take down Christmas trees in municipal locations, take down the 10 Commandments, etc.
Well, I wonder how that's working out for this beautiful country of ours, where no one has any common values. Oh, J.D.
Now we're back
Vance.
to poopy pants.
I'm not poopy
We're on a
pants.
roller
I'm a
coaster
principled
today.
person who likes to follow through and be consistent in the application of the law,
That was
not
the whole
making
purpose
exceptions.
of the 14th Amendment.
But how come you're not out there railing about the illegality of the federal government overlooking states who have so-called?
Because I'm a federalist.
Oh, now you're a federalist, are you? But if the federal law is currently that marijuana is a controlled substance and is illegal, why aren't DEA officials swarming in and swooping down on dispensaries across the land? because
shut down.
It's a federal law. I thought you just told me. You're the one that told me the 14th Amendment applies to everyone.
It's the rights that we have that the 14th Amendment. And so it's not that all federal laws then become all state laws. You're conflating two different things.
I'm conflating. So the 14th Amendment applies to prayer in school, but not to marijuana in my bong. Is that what it's called, a bong?
Yes,
Yeah.
Randy. Ugh.
I don't do these things. I don't know.
Listeners don't listen to him. I've seen him light up before the show.
No, whoa. Wait a minute. You're going to get a defamation suit there,
what that
brother.
smell was in here. I thought I was imagining things.
Never touch the stuff. Never will. Well, maybe someday. On a medical use, I could see myself doing it as a medical use, but not as a recreational use.
That's how everybody claims they use it.
That's how it started out in state law. It's medical.
No, really. I mean, don't I make a good point? Come on, you got to throw me a bone here. Come on.
No, because so what the 14th Amendment did, it prevented the locals in the states from infringing on your rights. So it like you're talking about First Amendment rights. You don't have a First Amendment right to smoke weed necessarily, but it was like it's protecting the individual, right, from overbearing states and overbearing local governments. I don't think it's the same thing when you're talking about
573-87.
All your laws from the federal level applying at the state level.
And again, now, ladies and gentlemen, when you weigh in on this, 573-874-9390, separate yourself from whether you really like marijuana or don't, or whether you really like prayer in schools or not. Is there a significant difference in the application of what Stephanie maintains is the 14th Amendment that federal law applies across the way? The current federal law is no prayer in schools. So there's no prayer in schools.
That's
I don't
not
care if you're an
law.
Amish.
You're talking about the First Amendment. It's in the Constitution, but it's not like a codified ban on marijuana.
What do you mean? It's illegal.
Protecting individual rights.
It's illegal. It's a ban on your expression of weediness.
And so am I hearing you argue that we should give the federal government more control?
Because don't put words in my mouth. I just want consistency. I want consistency.
So the federal government should get rid of their ban on weed and weed for everybody. Is that
along with their ban on plundering my hard work and giving it to someone who decides to ruin their life with weed or alcohol or anything else? I'm all for open drugs, but I'm all for no welfare system by the federal government. Let that be an individual state or municipality issue. That's libertarianism. That's freedom with responsibility.
We've forgotten about to have Gary weigh in on this.
We've forgotten about the responsibility portion of this. All right, now we have a robust discussion here. This is good.
It's good.
Let's see what looked it up until
the 14th Amendment and due process and the Bill of Rights and all that good stuff.
And by the way,
take a citizenship.
And by the way,
as
J.D. Vance mentioned last night, Maryland, I think, was a Catholic. Basically, they had Catholicism in their schools. I think another state, Massachusetts, I think one of our listeners, Bill, says, looked it up. What was it? GoogleMe.com? What was it you said?
I think, let me Google that.
Let me Google that. Until 1833, Massachusetts and Connecticut had Congregational Church as state church. So there you go. And I'm not saying that it's right on a national level, but if a community wants to have a church, you can move out of the community. We have freedom of movement in this country.
I think the lesson is, because what you'll probably hear from Randy is don't Google your medical conditions and don't Google and then pretend you're a lawyer. I think the rule goes both ways.
Look, we the people have the right to look at our very elegant, simply written, and clear I'm a Scaliaist kind of a law student here. It's very simple. What does it say? Congress shall not establish.
But then you also have to read the rest of the document, like the 14th Amendment.
Okay, but if I read the 14th Amendment, then I want the dispensaries closed and people locked up.
Cherry picking the provisions you like.
John, what's going on in your world as we try to solve this after the break?
Well, with the First and 14th Amendments notwithstanding, will the ER still x-ray your kids' candy this Halloween?
a wall of separation between your candy and the federal government. We'll talk about it.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Now, Except for this.
Back in the day, you heard the stories about pins stuck in Halloween apples, tainted candy, even prompting hospitals at the time to offer to x-ray your goodies. Now, fast forward to 2025, police in suburban Detroit are warning parents to watch out for dodgy Halloween treats after finding THC and magic mushroom products in packaging that mimics well-known candy and chip brands. They say the drugs were dressed up to look like packs of Jolly Ranchers, Airheads, Lay's chips, Doritos, Nerds, and other snacks. Stories of poison trick-or-treat candy often make the rounds at Halloween. Actual cases are very rare. A criminology professor calls them merely an urban legend with no basis in fact, endlessly revived by small-town police departments and the darn media. But police warning residents, check every piece of candy before you eat it, throw away anything that was not pre-wrapped, and tell the kids, good luck, don't eat any candy until an adult checks it, kids. How well did that work for us? Yeah, don't eat any of that till you bring it home.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right.
I'm bad. I don't check the candy.
My famous Halloween story, my best friend's mom always made giant popcorn balls.
Yeah.
And you had to walk through the living room in front of her completely disinterested Air Force colonel husband in your little outfit. And we'd promptly take the popcorn balls and feed them to the neighbor's German shepherd and laugh at him as he tried to dig them out of his mouth.
Boy, those popcorn balls are good, though. The caramel corn popcorn balls. Ooh.
But you can't really pass out homemade treats, really, unless you're
Not
like
in this day
amongst
and age.
friends. Yeah, that's like a no-no.
I know, but they're so good.
But I think
Miss
going
those.
somewhere where like you know the people and sticking to like your own neighborhood's probably a smart choice.
Well, it's what this kind of stuff is what prompted the churches and the trunk or treats.
Yeah, that's true.
That and the fact that it's going to be
controlled.
27 degrees tomorrow night. And
Is it
I'm
gonna be cold?
Oh, I mean, the high is like, it was freezing yesterday. Like when you got out, like it rained and rained and rained. And then when I left work yesterday, I was like, ooh, I should have brought a coat. John, what's our temp tomorrow?
It's supposed to be sunny and 60, so if the kids get out on the early side, they should be good. But
It's going to be cold.
It was 40 degrees getting out of the door this morning.
Yeah, it was
41
cool this morning.
I'm looking at the hourly temp.
I'm trying to.
You're either sweating or you're in your winter coats, and I think we're going to be in winter coats tomorrow.
Blame Tony Lupo.
I say this every year, but this year, I always have a bunch of outdoor plants that I sit around, that are really nice. I don't know, elephant ears and stuff. I want to overwinter them and have them survive rather than just trash them. So I'm bringing them in and trying to find a place where my wife can put up with them hanging out around the house and get enough sun at the same time.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. It never seems to happen very well. Or you start getting the little Drosophila, I don't know what they are, little fruit flies everywhere then, I don't know.
Yeah, my dad used to do that every year. His downstairs big rec room had a bar in it with pretty good amount of windows, and it had all these plants that were brought in from outside with bugs climbing out of them all winter long.
I think if you spray them with, there's like neem oil or something, there's some kind of natural spray that you can use that's not pesticide,
Well, be careful because you might commit a federal crime. I should get back to this thing because I talked about the wrong book. I think I said like 3 felonies a day. The book I was talking about is How to Become a Federal Criminal if you're looking for a creative outlet, Randy. But
you can't avoid committing some, unintended crime with how many pages of federal regulations are there? It was
it's tons. They've tried to count the number of federal crimes with this. The premise of this book. Have you ever clogged a toilet in a national forest? That could get you 6 months in federal prison. Written a letter to a pirate? You might be looking at 3 years in the slammer. Leaving the country with too many nickels? Drinking a beer on a bicycle in a national park? Or importing a pregnant polar bear? These are all very real crimes.
Is there hope for... I don't know. I know business owners are always quaking in their boots about, now, what reg did I not know about or I did know about, but there's so many of them, it's impossible to run a business and comply with every stupid pet trick regulation. Carrie Sheffield, what does the shutdown mean for families when we come back?
I've been pleading with my Democrat colleagues all week long. Do not allow 42 million people, needy people in this country, to go without food. And yet they seem prepared to do just that.
Well, it's day 2030 of the shutdown, and it continues to head on to oblivion, it appears like. And there's Josh Hawley, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, saying, hey, I'm pleading with my colleagues across the aisle. Let's get this puppy open. And it appears as though lines are drawn in the sand. Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. Joining us now, Carrie Sheffield. She is a broadcaster and author, accomplished policy analyst, and she's a senior policy analyst with Independent Women's Forum. She joins us now. Carrie, welcome to the program. This is beginning to take a toll on more and more American families and the women that are trying to keep things together in those families, no?
Good morning, Randy. Thanks for having me. Yes, it's certainly causing a lot of uncertainty all over the country. We're seeing reports, nationwide about food banks that are running dry, and governors are, dipping into emergency funds, trying to fill the gap here. But it's all going to be coming to a head on November 1st with the next month in the reset when the funding is running out for the food assistance program.
I think it's an interesting time where it's actually opening some discussions that appear to me to be more robust and hit people where it matters for the long run, policy-wise. And healthcare has suddenly bubbled to the top of the national conversation. Do you think any reforms are possible as the fallout of this eventually? After the government's reopened, subsidies are not temporarily. Will there be true healthcare reform in this abomination of Obamacare?
Hope springs eternal. I think the big picture, when you zoom out about what Democrats are arguing by wanting to not only give health insurance subsidies to large health insurance companies on behalf of illegal immigrants, they also want to give funding for families making up to $600,000 a year and give them taxpayer subsidies for health care, and that's just wrong. But the big picture is that when you look at inflation, it's the same thing in education, college tuition. The more the federal government gets involved in things like that or in healthcare, the more inflation skyrockets because there's no incentive for the health insurance companies to lower their prices. There's no incentive for the hospitals to lower their prices because they get an endless, bottomless well of taxpayer money. And the opposite is what we need. We need competition. Competition drives prices down. Subsidies drives prices up. And so that's what's really upsetting about the Democrats is they're fighting and they're shutting the government down because they want to have more inflationary subsidies for people who shouldn't get them.
Talk about throwing good money after bad. I think that's what's going on here. They've admitted it's a broken system, and yet they want to continue to, quote, make it more affordable while the base premium keeps going up and up and up. We're talking with Carrie Sheffield with Independent Women's Forum at Carrie Sheffield on X.
Carrie, we've talked before about how powerful the healthcare lobby is on Capitol Hill, and that kind of crosses all party boundaries. Is that something that should be addressed right now during the shutdown with all this focus on health care?
Well, I do know that on Capitol Hill, it's actually the bipartisan bill, which is great. There's been a bill that's been recently introduced that would force hospitals to list all of their prices publicly beforehand, before the procedures, not after the fact, not obfuscating, and it would have actual penalties because regulatorily, they are required to do it at the hospitals, but there's really no enforcement mechanism, and it's very weak penalties. And that's really what we need. We need price transparency so we can drive down the price of healthcare and allow patients to shop around because most healthcare is non-emergency, thank God. And a lot of it is pre-scheduled. A lot of people can shop around once they have the prices from these hospitals. It seems so basic, right? Like being able to see the price of your health care, like you can see the price of your car insurance, the price of your pizza, the price of anything else so you can compete.
No doubt about it. We're talking with Carrie Sheffield. And Carrie, you wrote a book called Motorhome Prophecies. And as I've read about your story, fifth of 8 children, in a toxic environment, a violent, mentally ill street musician father, and I mean, really a troubled upbringing, 17 public schools. And then you were performing classical music on the streets and passing out fire and brimstone religious pamphlets because of that upbringing. And look at what you've done with your life. And it makes me think about, in the context of this shutdown, we've been playing clips off and on of people that I think stereotypically would have been maybe considered in the past part of the Democrat tent. I mean, we played a clip of a woman that was formerly homeless, clearly not of means, from St. Louis, Missouri, rebuking people who are whining about not being on SNAP and basically saying, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You don't have to buy 20 pounds of ground beef. Buy something cheaper. Buy 1 pound and feed your family today. Walk to the store when her car was repossessed. And it's an interesting, rather than sort of the dependency, I'm hearing from people that maybe were formerly dependent or grew up with difficult circumstances, wagging their finger on social media, X and others, at people who want to continue the dependency culture. Isn't that what the new MAGA movement is about, is getting people off of this generational dependency? I mean, you could have gone the other direction, no?
Yeah, I mean, my family, we were on welfare actually in the state of Missouri, and I was on Medicaid when I lived in Missouri. And so I've seen these social safety net programs. I do think that in some cases there is an extreme need for this, especially for traumatic events like, layoffs, job loss, divorce, violence in the home. There is a time and place for these social safety net programs in order to create an actual net as opposed to a spider web. I've heard this analogy of these programs where a spider web keeps them trapped in this cycle of dependency. A net helps them bounce back up. And unfortunately, the way we've structured a lot of the programs and our culture, I've seen some of those videos too, and a lot of them are on TikTok also.
Yeah.
The system has become a spider web that keeps people trapped instead of just creating a mindset that I will rise above this. And it is unfortunate because the mindset is very important, and I've even seen it in my own family where people, they have become so accustomed to a negative inner dialogue that they remain trapped because subconsciously they think that's what they actually want because the system has told them that's what they deserve and that's who they are. I believe for me as a Christian, that was instrumental in my changing of my mindset. And the Bible says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I chose differently. I chose, as also in the Bible, when Jesus said to the man at the pool of Bethesda, do you want to be healed? And instead of saying yes, he made a bunch of excuses. And I think that ultimately we all have to want to be healed. Again, there are some cases of severe disability where, I believe God can do anything, but until there is a full healing for some people who are severely mentally disabled, they need help. But for a lot of other people, a lot of it is just stinking thinking and negative self-talk that keeps them trapped in dependency.
Now, switching gears here, we are getting some new polling out of Emerson, I think, yesterday, that the New Jersey governor's race is a dead heat. There's also some big elections coming up in Virginia. What are you seeing there? It seems like the races are tightening quite significantly.
Yes, I live in Virginia, so I've been very active. I spoke at and I sang the national anthem at an event for Winston Sears, the Republican candidate and our current lieutenant governor. She certainly is the underdog in the race, but the polling is definitely tighter here. I think there are some very positive indications in Virginia because the early voting areas have been dominated by Republicans so far. So we're hoping that continues. That said, there are a lot of federal workers that are here in Virginia, and a lot of them are not going into work, which means they have a lot more time on Election Day to show up. Not to say that I want to suppress the vote. I don't. But I think the idea that people want to blame the Virginia Republican Party or Winsome Sears for the federal state of the federal government, it's misplaced, and they're certainly trying to exploit that here in Virginia. But ultimately, it does come down to turnout, and so it's been good to see that conservatives have embraced the idea of doing early voting, whereas before they were more reluctant.
Carrie, is there any? Can you speculate as to why Winsome Sears, with a seemingly spotless resume and a strong resume, a veteran, and I mean just an American success story, I haven't seen any Oppo research that's suggest any corruption. How come she can't garner the endorsement of Donald Trump? Or have I missed a late endorsement? Or maybe that's it. Maybe he's waiting for a late endorsement. Any ideas?
He has endorsed her. He's definitely said that she needs to win. She deserves to win. She's the best candidate. I think, it was a bit delayed.
Okay,
I think if it had come earlier, it could have done her more good. But I think part of why is because he was upset about some things that she had said after the wake of January 6th. And so there was some skepticism about her on his part. I can't speak for her or him, but I am glad to see that they have come together and he has endorsed her.
All right. Well, we appreciate your input on that. I think we watch this as maybe a bellwether of what may be coming ahead in the midterms. Carrie, thanks as always for being with us. Really appreciate the conversation. Look forward to the next one.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Take care. At Carrie Sheffield. Her book is a very interesting one. I mean, boy, you talk about personal struggles and trauma, and oh my God. And then she ends up getting a degree from Harvard and is all over Fox News and everywhere else. So you can make something of yourself if you put your mind to it. Market report coming up in a minute.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Morning Bell tells us that yesterday the Dow Jones and S&P were not moving much. S&P was flat, Dow Jones down just about 0.1%. NASDAQ up and up and up, another 0.5% up, and it continues to soar. Today's futures, in the wake of what was a lot of flurry and bluster on the part of Donald Trump coming out of the Xi meeting. He's going to back down on tariffs. Xi and China are going to hold back on their export controls on the critical minerals, and so those rare earth stocks are rallying as China delays those imports. But the pre-market trading looks negative as far as the overall markets. The broad market's down, between 0.4 and 0.5% across the Dow and the S&P and the NASDAQ. Oil down. Boy, there's been a lot of volatility in the oil, John Marsh. It was up as much as $65, $66 earlier in the week, late last week. Now back down to $59. When was the last time we saw it? Well, I guess we saw it dip below 60 briefly a couple weeks ago, but
yeah, been a while. Well, that's one of those kind of deals. It's been so volatile, and so much has been weighing into it with Russian oil. Where's it going? And where are the Chinese buying the oil from?
Yes.
They built the rail all the way from China into Iran, and all that to haul the oil on tanker cars instead of through pipelines, and also
what we didn't hear was we didn't hear really any substantive back off of Chinese support for Russia in their battle with Ukraine, attack on Ukraine. And, that's disappointing because I don't see any end in sight for Putin's assault on taking over most or all of that country eventually. That's what he wants to do. Yesterday, the Fed meeting resulted in a 0.25% drop in the federal open funds rate.
It sounds like they're doing a little backpedaling on the presumed quarter-point drop for December.
Yeah. Well, I think some of that may be because inflation is still a little bit warm, right? I mean, they want a 2% inflation rate. It still hovers around 3%. And they're working a little bit without radar. I mean, because they don't have the numbers, right? They don't have September jobs numbers, and that's the other part of their dual mission, right? To control inflation and unemployment. And
so it's down to below 4% for the first time in gosh, how long?
Yeah. So it's been drifting up a little bit. Inflation has, and boy, the other thing that they're watching, I know, and it is all over the headlines. I see it in one way or another. The stories that it's got to be troubling white-collar folks across the nation. We see 14,000 layoffs of middle managers in Amazon. Target laid off, 1,800. On and on and on about these layoffs across the board on white-collar workers. Is that AI, or is that just cutting and telling other people, hey, you got to pick up the slack. We've got to cut costs somewhere because our cost on supplies coming from China and Canada and wherever else is going up and up. I don't know.
Combination of the two.
Yeah. But something's driving that, and that's going to be. And then you're reading that these folks, when they go out on the job force, especially people are in specialized, highly skilled areas, they're having to sort of dumb their resumes down or, not look so experienced because companies don't want to pay for that experience when they're hiring. So I think J.D. Vance said it last night. He said, look, we've got too many immigrants in our country. We need to cut down on our immigration, certainly illegal, obviously, get rid of the illegals that are here, and not import so many because we got people in America that are going to be looking for jobs. There's just no doubt about it. And we just can't ignore that reality. No matter how much we want to welcome and be a melting pot, we'll melt ourselves right out of employment for Americans. We'll come back on Wake Up Missouri and talk about couples who choose separate beds. That may face an unseen challenge. We'll talk about that at 8:35.
knew about the missed paychecks. They knew the uncertainty of making rent for so many people. They knew about the missed meals. They knew about delayed flights. They knew that our nuclear arsenal and our national defense would be negatively affected by this, and they did not care. They shut the government down anyway to appease the far-left voices of their base. And the Democrats have some soul searching to do. Are they going to continue to do that? Are they going to run from the far left and do their bidding? Or are they going to do right by millions of federal workers and the American people who continue to show up to work daily without pay?
Well, there's Speaker Mike Johnson again, is what's beginning to sound like a broken record. That's like, hey, we want to open the government up. We've passed that clean resolution that it contains all the Biden spending. It's no different. It's all good. And we just want to do that so we can have discussions about your health care and your broken system that you admit is broken and isn't affordable, but you need to make it affordable by paying subsidies to patients and to insurance companies. But we'll have that discussion. Just open the government, pay the TSA workers, pay the air traffic controls folks. And I think they're winning the argument, at least as best I can tell. The polling at least seems to suggest that. We're continuing to follow that. We follow Donald Trump as he comes back from what is touted as a very successful trip, at least rhetorically, and promises made in China and before that in Japan and South Korea and Malaysia. So we'll have to see where all of that rolls out. In addition, the demolition keeps going on in the East Wing, and the Democrats are apoplectic about that. But you know what? We can't do a whole lot about that. However, we can do something about how we sleep with our partner. Did you see this story, John Drake? Interesting story. Sleeping apart, according to some researchers, may not be the key to happiness in a relationship.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sleep divorce advocates have highlighted the benefits of sleeping separately, maybe even in separate rooms or in separate duvets on the same platform. That's like a Scandinavian sleep method, I guess, that's become popularized in Sweden and Norway. But apparently some researchers in Taiwan say that sleeping apart from your significant other may decrease your psychological well-being. I don't know. Is that something that I remember my grandparents had separate beds. And it used to, remember on the old, many of you are too young to remember this, but on the old I Love Lucy show, you remember?
Oh, yeah. All the sitcoms, they had twin beds.
That's right. Now, was that because they were sitcoms and it was a more measured time, you know? You kept your bedroom antics to yourself? I don't know. Drake?
You know, I think that is true, but for a different reason. I think that sleeping apart is unhealthy because whenever you and your significant other get into a fight, the guy always sleeps on the couch, and the woman loses her power if you're already sleeping apart from each other.
Oh, so if that's your default arrangement, yeah, if that's the default, then the woman loses her power.
Yeah, and I think that this story is this isn't, a good story. I think this is just a woman writing this to make sure that she has power in the bedroom. I think that's what this was.
I think who wrote the story was the designers and the retailers that sell the multi-$1,000 beds with the different zones.
Yeah.
Different firmness, different heat, and all that.
What's your comfort number? Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, the study's author said this was the type study that can't prove causation. So I wondered about that. Could it be that, yes, people that sleep together on the same bed and snuggle they're happier, and that's just a symbol, that's just a symptom of happiness, of a good relationship. Whereas you're already unhappy, so you choose to sleep apart. So, yeah, I mean, of course. It may be that they said that couples who sleep apart face health or sleep challenges, chronic illness, sleep apnea, snoring, insomnia. I know there's been times, we've all had that. If you're sick, you're coughing and hacking and stuff, I'll get away. I don't want to keep her up all night. Well, I don't want to get her sick. But I don't know. As we age, sleep tends to be lighter and more fragmented, so there's a shift towards earlier bedtimes and wake times. And so maybe it takes, other mental factors, depression, loneliness and anxiety are an increasing problem in our society, even among married people. because you stay buried in your utopian Facebook filtered world, doom scrolling on whatever social media platform, and that isolates you functionally, if not physically.
Well, like us, we get up a lot earlier, presumably, than our spouses to come in and do morning radio.
I try to immediately get into the bathroom, close the door, turn on the light. I have my AirPods in, so I'm not playing the radio out loud. But just the fact I'm stirring, Helene wakens, and I feel bad. I don't know what to do about that. I got to do something about that.
Use a different bathroom that's not attached to the master suite, perhaps.
Yeah, probably got to
I do.
Got to go upstairs and do that. Yeah, that's what I have to do. Takes forever for the water. Ours is a home that it's an older home, had addition built onto it, and it takes forever for the hot water to get to the shower. I have to leave it running while I, brush my teeth, put on a new roof, build a deck, and about that time the hot water's there.
There you go.
It's just about enough time to take my blood pressure medicine. You wouldn't think I have high blood pressure, would you, John?
No, we would probably think more so that you would be a carrier.
Yeah, I've had blood pressure since medical school, but actually that was because it was the forerunner to a rare problem I had back in the 90s called Cushing's disease. I think I've told that story.
I think you have.
That's where your pituitary gland overproduces the hormone that tells your adrenal gland to produce too much cortisone, and so that drives your blood pressure up. It may have a little something to do with sleeplessness too. If I get how many hours you get of sleep of a night, on average, John?
Me, not nearly enough.
No, that's not good for us.
I can't fall asleep.
Really?
I can't fall asleep early, and I get up way early.
You can't fall asleep after your long and busy day. You're not like pillow hits the head, and you're out.
Yeah, sometimes not.
Yeah, I don't have a problem getting to sleep or staying asleep, but I just don't get to sleep much before 10 or 11, and then getting up at 4:30 or so.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not enough. Good night is when I get 10:30, maybe 10. That's a good night.
Wow,
How about you, Drake?
Yeah, no, I go to bed pretty early. Yeah. I mean, I usually am in bed by 9, 8:30.
Really?
You
got to get your beauty sleep. Yeah,
I do. True. I really do. But the problem is
rowdy
that
roommates.
Whenever I go, to stay out at the bars till 1:30 in the morning, I am super tired. So I have to kind of figure out my sleep schedule, take a nap in the middle of Friday so I can be ready to party on.
I see.
A Friday night.
Now,
sorry, there's another point of this. I said that the women don't have any power in the bedroom if they kick you out.
About this, yeah.
No. I'm adding a stipend. Okay. Randy, for us who wake up at God knows when, if we are petty and we have an argument the last night with our significant other, we can just wake them up at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh,
and then they'll be super mad.
No, that's
payback.
That's passive aggressive.
No, I think that's just normal aggressive.
Well, the old thing. You should never go to bed with a fight. You should always make sure and reconcile.
Well, I think the old line is, do you wake up grumpy? And the response is, no, I generally let her sleep, right?
Oh, John. I'm glad she doesn't listen. Or does she?
I hope not.
That is a tough one, when you have a little dispute and every marriage has that, and it's time to go to bed. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling of not having total harmony before bedtime. Not good. I think that's sage advice. Try to maybe separate, go to your respective corners, have a little quiet time, little breathing exercise, and then come back and have some internal...
And then agree that she was right and you were wrong.
That's right. That always settles it. I'm sorry, honey. You were absolutely right. What came over me?
Yes, sir.
573-874-9390. I wonder if women or men or both are going to weigh in on this. What are your solutions to near bedtime, ahead of bedtime, disputes? Do you let them fester and just, one or the other goes to the couch? Or do you try resolution? Or have you found that that's absolutely futile?
That's right. Don't get in that situation to start with.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. 573-874-9390. When we come back, hey, let's have some fun with some interesting responses from J.D. Vance as he did his Charlie Kirk, one of his best friends, reportedly, channeling last night at the event down at Ole Miss. As we wrap it up with leftovers, we'll have a few extra things for you then on Wake Up Missouri.
It's Wake Up
become a common community again, and you can't do that when you have such high numbers of immigration, which is one of the reasons why we have the immigration policy we do. Thank you.
Well, there it is. It's a plea for assimilation and a common consensus on cultural values, American values. We all know what those look like. J.D. Vance was very resolute about that. There was a woman that appeared to be maybe of Southeast Asian, like, Indian. I'm talking about Indian extraction, perhaps. Because he earlier said, we just need to cut down all forms of immigration. We can't continue to have as many people coming into the country with the problems we have and the residual Biden immigrants that are here, illegal and some legal. And boy, are you saying that we should not be here? You want us to go home? No, he said, look, if we made a promise to you and you're here legally, that's fine. But going forward, that doesn't enshrine, what is it, John? Currently, what is it, 1 million legal, basically, that we plan on a year? I think that's the current quota.
Is that the number?
He said, look, whoever said that's the right number. The right number changes from time to time. And so, it's not like an entitlement that because you live in the rest of the world and you want to come to America, that you can do that. We hold the keys to the gate. We are the ones that decide that. And he said, in other clips, he said, I'm for America first, not for global first. Good for him. I think he's warming up for 28, and he's looking awfully good. Drake, what do you have on your leftover plate?
All right, I'm going to be quite honest.
I thought that's changed.
Yeah, I usually lie every word I say.
I love when everyone says that. I'm telling you the truth. Well, what does that mean? You've been telling me falsehoods the rest of the lie? Why do we say that?
Because I have been lying to you for the entire show, Randy.
Yeah.
No, but
when you said I'm a dirty, rotten scoundrel, you've been lying. So I knew you felt better about it. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I can turn your mic off at any moment, Randy.
Anyways, you have, and you will.
So, I don't watch baseball much unless it's the Cardinals, but I know that the Dodgers are one of the best teams in baseball. Mm-hmm. And I thought they were going to sweep the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays last night won against the Dodgers, sending it to a 3-2 lead in the World Series, which is cool.
That is cool, and boy,
back to Toronto for Game 6, no less.
Back-to-back homers to open the game, wasn't it, by Toronto? I think so. Unbelievable.
Yep, they were on fire, and then they had that 18-inning win on Monday night.
18 innings. Wow, that's getting your money's worth
tied
for a
the
ticket.
World Series record for longest game.
That's getting your money's worth for that ticket. John, what do you have?
Well, on the flip side, Kansas City Chiefs expected to be without Isaiah Pacheco for the big game with the Bills on Sunday. He sprained a knee ligament in the win over the Commanders, so no Pacheco. And we could definitely use him when we go up against those Drake's Bills.
Did they ever report which ligament was strained? I read reports like that, and it's like, I need to know, was that the medial collateral, the lateral collateral?
The version
anterior
it said knee ligament.
I always want to know. All right, so the MRI said that he's got a problem with one of his ligaments. That could be one of those nagging things that goes on for a while.
And
but
he's had injury issues that he had to come back from.
Oh, that's true. But Hunt's been doing a good job. The running back Hunt, he's been doing a good job. So, here's a little more from J.D. Vance on immigration.
I'll go and finish. We cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interests of the whole world. It's to look out for the people of the United States.
And the 10,000 throng there in Old Miss Big Auditorium were like, yeah, America first. It's about time. It's good.
MCL, right leg.
Which one?
MCL on the right leg.
Medial collateral. Yeah, that could be a nagger that keeps on
what was it,
nagging forever and ever and ever.
He broke his leg a couple.
That's true.
Deals ago. So.
And then and speaking of injuries, so Mizzou's quarterback Prebula has a pretty rare. It's a taekwondo injury, right? Sort of a dislocation without any fracture. That's what Coach Drinkwitz said. Interesting. It sort of held out the hope that maybe, I don't know, he sort of left it indefinite. Like, we don't know when.
Drake and I had this discussion the other day, didn't we, Drake, about about good luck getting Prevula back this season.
Either way, I mean, even if he is healthy by the end of the season, if we make it to the playoffs, which would be when we need him, quote unquote, that would mean that Zollers would have to run a gauntlet. And if he wins out, I mean,
win out.
There's no reason to bring Prevula back. I mean,
well, that's a good point.
Is that good to beat the number 3 or 4 in the country and Oklahoma and just make it through those 4 games?
Well, he was a top 100 draft or whatever recruit, right?
Yeah, he's a great
Zollers.
quarterback.
He showed a lot of poise for a guy coming in that setting.
Yeah,
I just thought he showed a lot of poise the other day. And it seemed to me, too, though, that he seemed to have more protection when he was going back in pass formation, right? Or was that just somehow something different about the play or the nature of the game? I don't.
Well, when you're a scrambling quarterback, you tend to get sacked a little bit more. So,
wisdom from Drake, producer Drake. There you go. All right. Well, we'll have some fun on Feel Good Friday tomorrow, and maybe a little bit of wisdom. And we thank you for your listening and your wisdom as you stay in touch with us this day and every day on Wake Up Missouri. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you tomorrow. Stay tuned for Gary Nolan.